Support for Colorado Today comes from Safeway. Their pharmacists are here to help you and your family stay protected, offering a wide range of vaccines, including flu shots and COVID-19 boosters. Stop into the store or schedule online at safeway.com/pharmacy. Support for Colorado Today comes from Credit Union of Colorado. With access to over 30,000 ATMs and a mobile app, they're dedicated to offering the services of a big bank with a heart. Learn more at honestlygood.org.
If you're a Broncos fan, listen up. A limited amount of half-price game tickets for this upcoming season will be going on sale today, starting at 10 a.m. They start at $25 and will be limited to 4 per household. So line up your family and friends for a nice Sunday at Mile High. This could be the year. I just feel it. I'm Arlo Perez Esquivel. Coming up, the number of people calling Colorado's mental health crisis line is going up, and more of half of those callers are men.
Maybe more men that are going, hey, this is a resource I can reach out to, and it doesn't have to paint a picture of putting me out there as having a mental health challenge.
Then, carbon dioxide and methane have been considered a threat to human health for more than 25 years. But that might be changing this week.
Governor Jared Polis said the proposal from the EPA paves the way for more extreme weather and climate disasters.
How will it affect Colorado? Plus, the road up Pike's Peak might be scenic, but it's full of tight turns and steep drop-offs.
Yeah, we came 1,500 miles to ride up this hill, and our bike's overheated.
Now, there's a new way to drive up in style. It is Thursday, July 31st. Here's the news in Colorado Today. If you're feeling anxious or depressed, one resource you can tap into is Colorado's 988 mental health line. The number of people calling in was up last year by 15%, and more than half of those callers are men. That's according to data just released by the state. CPR's education reporter Jenny Berndein is going to help us understand what that means. Jenny, more people are using this mental health crisis line. Should that be encouraging or worrisome?
Well, maybe a little bit of both. Okay, first, the top 5 reasons for contacting 988 were anxiety, social concerns, self-harm or suicidal thoughts, depression, and substance use. Colorado's 988 director, Gordon Coombs, said callers are anxious about things like housing costs and social isolation. Plus,
it seems we're really polarized, all right? You know, that division has people worried and concerned about the times.
On the other hand, Coombs says that more callers, texters, live chatters means the program is actually working. Colorado launched a marketing campaign last summer, and he says it really helped change the perception about 988 as more than just a crisis line.
Okay, and can you tell us a little bit more about who is using the 988 line?
About 94,000 people called the hotline from communities around Colorado, and that includes students in schools and adults, plus thousands more texted or live chatted. And as you mentioned, the majority of help seekers were men. That's true for English speakers, who outnumber women by about 10 points. And it's especially true for Spanish speakers. About 80% of those callers were men.
Wow, was it surprising that most of the callers are men?
Yeah, it's definitely a shift from past trends. We know that men have traditionally been less likely to participate in mental health services. Here's Coombs again.
Maybe more men that are going, hey, this is a resource I can reach out to, and it doesn't have to paint a picture of putting me out there as having a mental health challenge, which comes with its own stigma.
988 is rebranding itself as a service that provides broad mental health support, not just crisis and suicide prevention. Officials say that shift has made it more appealing for men who would otherwise be reluctant to call, text, or live chat with someone from 988.
Did you get a reason why so many more Spanish-speaking men are calling in? I mean, 80% is a huge slice.
I didn't get a specific comment from officials about this, but we saw a spike in the number of Spanish-speaking callers around November of last year when President Donald Trump was elected. And there was a lot of uncertainty about how President Trump would handle immigration, and that campaign rhetoric probably scared a lot of people.
988 is offering a service in Spanish. As someone whose second language is English, that's amazing. It's not something programs regularly do.
Yeah, and they not only offer them in Spanish, but also have interpreters in 150 languages like Arabic or Urdu.
So calls and texts are up. Do they have any plans to expand that reach?
Yes, indeed. To make mental health more accessible, 988 is launching a sort of chill-out lounge at a handful of Rockies games starting tomorrow. And you sit in a lounge, it's complete with soothing ambient radio and a music visualizer.
We also have a fun words of affirmation wheel where people can spin the wheel and it says great things, what your personality characteristics are. And people are like, oh yeah, that's right. I do light up a room.
Coombs said it also helps them reach more Spanish speakers. They've interviewed a number of Latino players on the Rockies.
Mental health challenges impact everybody. That's one of the things that we do have in common as a society.
Jennifer and Dean, thank you so much for your reporting.
Thank you.
Again, if you need any form of mental health support, you can call or text the number 988 on your phone. Greenhouse gases, like carbon dioxide, threaten public health. That was the conclusion of the so-called endangerment finding issued by the EPA in 2009. By certifying that simple, scientifically backed fact, the agency laid a foundation for regulations designed to fight climate change. But now the Trump administration has announced plans to overturn that finding. So why the reversal? And is it legal? CPR's Ishan Thakur has followed the changes in the EPA. Ishan, this sounds like a complete change in policy. How do we get here?
Yeah, that endangerment finding, that was a really big deal when the Obama administration announced it. That rule and a previous Supreme Court case allowed the EPA to use the Clean Air Act to regulate a bunch of different planet-warming greenhouse gas emissions. Those include emissions from trucks, coal and gas-fired power plants, cars, methane from the oil and gas industry. That rule has survived years of court challenges, but this week the Trump administration announced it would try to roll back the Obama-era rule.
And why is that? Why is the Trump administration proposing to scrap the finding? What's their end goal?
So every presidential administration has a different EPA. They have slightly different policy positions, but this EPA, Trump's current EPA, has taken a real adversarial approach to climate science and many major climate and pollution regulations. That's been much more extreme than even the first Trump administration. This EPA is basically saying, they want to roll back the influence of the agency to regulate a lot of things. And this move from this week is basically the EPA claiming that, hey, we don't have the power to regulate all this stuff. Administrator Lee Zeldin said that repealing the finding would be a major blow to climate policy.
So this has been referred to as basically driving a dagger into the heart of the climate change religion.
Now, the EPA is trying to get rid of other climate rules. How would scrapping this finding help them do that?
Yeah, many of the regulations that have to do with limiting greenhouse gases from cars and trucks come from the endangerment findings. So the EPA getting rid of that will make it much harder to regulate that type of pollution. The EPA also said this week it would delay a really important new rule that tries to limit methane emissions from oil and gas operations.
I want to focus just on Colorado. The state has big plans to transition to green energy, and it sounds like this might get in the way of that.
Yeah, it's one more reason that the state really shouldn't expect federal support for its climate efforts moving forward. Colorado Governor Jared Polis said the proposal from the EPA paves the way for more extreme weather and climate disasters. But that's just Polis registering his disagreement with the policy change. It's actually less clear how this might impact state policy in the short term.
What do you mean by that?
Well, Colorado has really strong methane rules. They passed first in the country rules years ago to cut down on methane emissions from oil and gas operations. In fact, the EPA even modeled part of its new rules on Colorado's. And those are really designed to limit that gas because it warms the planet much faster than carbon dioxide alone. Delaying the methane rule now really threatens the national effort for other states that don't have as advanced rules or policies. Now some environmental advocates are really hoping that Colorado will again step up and set an example for other states. Nini Gu is a policy manager for the Environmental Defense Fund.
What we would like to see in Colorado is that the state continues to move forward on its state level regulations around methane emissions and protect Coloradans despite what has happened at the federal level.
And I imagine there's been a lot of pushback to the move.
There's been a lot of pushback. The EPA's endangerment finding and the vehicle emissions proposals, they are not final, and they're going to have to go through months of public review and comment. And if the Trump administration does actually finalize them, states and environmental groups will almost certainly sue to stop them.
So like many other things nowadays, it may be up to the courts. Ishan, thank you so much.
Thanks, Arlo.
Pikes Peak has the second highest road in the U.S., with some stunning views from America's mountain. But it also has some terrifying drop-offs that you need to maneuver around. So if white-knuckle driving isn't your thing, there's a new way to get up Pikes Peak, one that might remind you of middle school. Yellow school buses are shuttling passengers all the way up the 14,000-foot summit. And KRCC's Havlin Haskell and Olivia Bagan recently took a ride. Olivia, can you tell us a little bit more about the shuttle?
Yeah, so this was launched by the city of Colorado Springs last year as a way to help reduce car traffic on the winding 19-mile journey and also provide some education for passengers.
Right there, you have Bigfoot. See him on the little rock there? See the two eyeballs? Yep. Okay.
That was our bus driver, Fred Potter. He used to be a firefighter, so driving a massive yellow school bus up the side of a mountain didn't seem to give him any problems. But it was still a little freaky. The road has shoulders that are only a couple of fists wide. Fred told us that there are at least 153 turns on the way up.
Wow. Was it a crowded ride?
Surprisingly, no. We were the only ones on our bus on the way up, but on the way down, it was completely packed. We talked to one group when we got to the summit, the Morris family. They had taken an earlier shuttle, and they came all the way from Nebraska to see Pikes Peak as part of their family reunion.
We have a big crew, so it was the idea of having everybody all together and then not having to deal with rental car and all that and the stress of driving someone else's car up the mountain.
And that was probably a wise choice. We saw one car pulled over, billowing with smoke.
Oofta. Probably from riding the brakes, I imagine.
Yes, and those weren't the only people who seemed to be having mechanical troubles. Here's Bill and Donna Merriman, who are visiting from North Carolina.
No, our motorcycle broke down halfway down. What? So we had to take the bus up here. Oh! So it's a clutch thing, and it's overheated. Yeah, we came 1,500 miles to ride up this hill, and our bike's overheated.
It sounds like the city might want to use that as an ad for the shuttle. Car troubles, we got you covered.
Totally. And for groups like the Morris family, it's more than just about saving your brakes. It also saves you a couple bucks. $35 gets you a spot on the shuttle and also covers your park entry fees, which makes it an affordable option compared to renting a car or taking the Cog Railway up Pikes Peak. Plus, you get Fred.
Then you get to see all these pretty purple flowers, blue flowers. You don't get to see that on the Cog, right?
KRCC's Olivia Bagan and Havlin Haskell, thank you for your reporting.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks.
Fun fact, Pikes Peak is the second highest road in the U.S. The first, also in Colorado, it's on Mount Blue Sky, hovering over Denver. Additional reporting for today's show comes from Elaine Tassi and Mateo Schempf. Thank you for listening to Colorado Today. Remember to follow us in your podcast app. I'm Arlo Perez Esquivel. This is CPR News.
Support for Colorado Today comes from Credit Union of Colorado. With access to over 30,000 ATMs and a mobile app, they're dedicated to offering the services of a big bank with a heart. Learn more at honestlygood.org.
Support for Colorado Today comes from Safeway, where you can shop online and get easy delivery or free pickup. Get the same prices, deals, and rewards as in-store. Shop the weekly ad, clip deals, and earn points at Safeway.com or in the Safeway app.